Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to be talking about one way that can help shift negative thinking. So, oftentimes we find ourselves in this pattern of thinking, especially after a really hard season or a season of grieving or even feelings of bitterness sometimes. It can be through a lot of different things that can get us into kind of this negative spiral. And this type of thinking can generally suck the joy out of daily life or even kind of prevent us from seeing the good, and even affect, like, if you have a relationship with the Lord, just like our trust in the Lord. And so the first step is really being able to decide differently, and that you don't want to stay there. And you have to decide that you don't want to stay there because it's going to take work to get out of it. And one of the biggest shifts that you can make is actually gratitude. And I'm going to dive into that and what that looks like. And oftentimes this is the most difficult thing, especially when you're in a negative season. But I'll be going into kind of the goodness of what this actually does and how it affects that way of thinking. So I once did a book study on this, and at the time I unfortunately was pretty flippant with it. I was actually leading a group on this, and which is terrible. I know I didn't feel like it was relevant to my life at that time, which is, yeah. And literally after this book study, I entered into a season where this book was really what helped me make those shifts in my life. And so this book is all about 1,000 gifts, and this lady had literally gone to hell and back. She experienced horrific things and really just a lot of tragedies in her life. And even if it was through clenched fist or gritted teeth, she chose to write down things that she was grateful for in the midst of all of the stuff that was happening. And in those seasons of anger or grief or disappointment, I think it is so much easier to clench our fists or groan about it or grieve about it and stay in that space for a long period of time. And while there's absolutely a time and a season for that, it's when you decide to choose differently for that and that you're not going to stay there. So I got to a point in my life where I entered into a very negative season, and I did not want to get out of it. And I felt like a failure. There was just like a lot of different negative things that were going on. And I had someone very close to me end up in acknowledging that I was in a negative space and I had been in it for a long time. And so I decided that I really needed to make a shift in my life and that it was time to move forward and that I didn't want to stay there. So I decided to take up on the book's challenge of being able to write down things that I was grateful for. So I literally broke out one of my journals and I started writing a list of 10 things that I was grateful for every day. And in the beginning, being completely honest, that list was really hard to come up with because of the space that I was in. And it wasn't until I was committed to it every day that that list started becoming easier and those things started becoming more detailed. And also my mind throughout the day started shifting completely. I wasn't so focused on the negative things or the things that were going wrong in my life, but I started seeing the good things and the things that were provided in my life and had been provided in my life. And I started seeing things as opportunities rather than hindrances. And another huge thing that it shifted in my life was my relationship with the Lord, trusting completely. And because I could see all of the things that He was already providing in my life, I completely began to trust in the Lord that He was going to continue to provide in my life, and that I had just let go control of that. And so it was something that I feel like it starts out so small and we can take it so for granted, but being able to write down things that you're grateful for can make massive shifts in your life and really shift that negative thinking. So, just a quick recap, it's choosing that you don't want to stay there, finding what you're grateful for. So, writing down the things that are good, that have been provided in your life, things that you're honestly grateful for, and then committing to it over time. That honestly is so helpful when making a big shift like this in your life. And I would love to hear if you guys end up trying it, the effects that it has in your life. And so feel free to comment below. Let me know how it goes. And then be sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys next week.